Hello friends, okay, we can start today's class with the research aptitude. Today also we are discussing the subtopics of research aptitude, that is the characteristics of research, bias in research and validity in research. Okay, so this is the last class of research aptitude, but now we covered almost all the topics of the research aptitude. So listen carefully, the characteristics of research aptitude is very important and you must know what it is. So let us start with our class with the characteristics of research aptitude. Be attentive to the class. Okay, characteristics of research. What are the characteristics of research? You know what is the research? Research is you are finding out something new. Okay, you are finding out something new. That is research. That is again searching for something. So what are the characteristics you can see in the research? Okay, first one is objectivity. What is meant by objectivity? That is, there is no without any bias. That is what we call as objectivity. Without any bias means you are giving an opinion as a third person. Okay, as a third person, not as you. You find it as you stand as a third person and give the opinion. So there is no bias in it. That we call as objectivity. So when you do a research work, your opinion should not be there. It should be an opinion of the general view that should be there in the research paper. Next is reliability. Reliability means when you do a research, that is, it should be consistent. At same time, same result. Whenever we do the research, if somebody else will do the result or somebody else will do the experiment, they should get the same result. If the same result is there, then we can say that the research is very correct and appropriate. Okay, that is what we call as reliability. When we do a research, the most important thing we needed is the reliability. Okay. Next is validity. Validity means when we do a research, we use different methods. The method should be accurate for the research what we are doing. If it is for the literary work, it is different. If it is for the science work, the research, it is somewhat more accurate, is experimental type. So the method should be according to the topic you are choosing. So that is what we call as validity. Then accuracy. Accuracy means correctness. When we do a research work, it should be very proper and very accurate and very correct. And you should not assume and do. You should write what you have already get in your research paper. Okay. Next is credibility. That is truthfulness. We should have find a truth. When you do a research, you have to find the truthfulness in it. Next is generalizable. Generalizable means apply to other situations. When you do a research of a culture or a society, or when you do a research on some student or something, then it is applicable to other situation also. Then only we can say that the research is universal. Okay, that is called generalizable. Okay, next is empirical. Empirical means concrete. Concrete means abstract things should not be in research. It is very valid and it is very clear and it should be touchable and it should be very proper, and it is convenient and it is convincible to the people. That is what we call as concrete. Next is systematic. Systematic means step by step. The research should be in a step by step process. These are all the things that we need in a characteristics. Okay, these are the characteristics of research. You know the different steps are in research. There are 8 steps for research. You have to follow each and every step. Then only the research should be very proper and appropriate for your PhD work. Understood? So you must study all the characteristics of research. It is very important. Understood? Next. Next is bias in research. There are in certain way the research contains some kind of biases. What are the different biases that can occur in the research? First is external bias, influence of a media and culture. That is, if you belong to any culture, there's a chance for that culture to influence you. So when you do a research, you might have given some ideas from your culture, or the influence of media. If you have heard about some topics through the media, you have a chance to write according to the media's influence. So there is an external bias is that. Okay. Next is personal bias. Personal bias is belief of researcher. That is, if you do a research, okay, you have your own views and your own beliefs. So your bias beliefs will come as an obstacle for the research work. Next is observer bias. Observer bias means different views of the research. That is, when you do a research, there is a lot of variables is there. You will find a lot of people to do the research. So each one have their own biases. Okay. So sometimes they may come as a problem to your research work. It is a kind of bias. Next is expectancy bias. Expect specific outcomes. That is, when you do a research, you have an expectation that its result will be this. So you are expecting that result to come out. So that can be a bias. Sometimes the result might be different. You have to think it in that view also. A multiple thinking is always needed in the researcher. Okay, he should be ready to receive whatever the result it is. But what happens is that sometimes the researcher have an expectancy bias is the next is placebo. Placebo, that is fake bias. That is want to believe a fake thing. For example, you might have heard of some kind of treatments are doing by some uneducated people of the rural area that is good for us, or like that you might have heard. So it's a fake thing. Okay, still you want to believe that that is right. So when you do the research, you might have heard of some fake things. Still, you want to believe that that is right, and you will take it as in you as such in your research work. So it's a kind of bias. That is what we call as placebo bias. Understood? Next is validity. There are different kinds of validity in research. Whatever topics now we are dealing, it is important part of the research. Okay. First is internal validity, the relation of two variables. If you are taking male and female, these are the two variables. So you want to find the relation between these two variables. What we call as internal validity. Then what is external validity? Can this apply to the real world? That is called external validity. That is when we do a research work, whether it is applicable to the world. That is a question before us. If it is applicable, then it is called universally applicable things. Okay. Then phase validity or logical validity or simple validity. What is the meaning of it? What is supposed to be? That if we do a research, it has some ideas or some purpose. That is what we call phase validity. Okay. When we do a research on students, you have a purpose that it might be for the educational purpose. So that is what we call as phase validity. Understood? Next is content validity. Measure the concept in it. That is, content validity means when you do a research work, it should have some kind of content, some inner elements. So whether it is measurable, that concept that we are doing in the content validity. Okay. Then criterion validity, useful in predicting the behavior. For example, criteria performance test. You do a performance test. Why we are doing a performance test? We want to select someone for the job. So it is a criterion validity. Okay, for some criteria, you need these things to do to be successful. That is what we call criterion validity. So all these things we have to keep in mind in the case of research. Okay. Then some more validities is there. That is construct validity. Evaluate the tool measure that needed. That is what are the measures we needed or the methods or that we needed for the research. That is what we call construct validity. Evaluate the tools we are using for it. Next is confounding variable. What is confounding variable? It's a question you must understand. Okay, it is for the exams. Is very important. It is an extra variable that drew in the experiment. Might be you are doing some experiments on male and female only. So sometimes an extra variable that is another variable. Sometimes people will ask about the transgenders or LGBT community, like that some extra variables might be there. So they may come as a questions before you. So it might be cause trouble to your research work. Okay. Or sometimes you are doing a work on the students. Okay, in students there is intelligent students are there, and you know the different intelligent levels are there. So when you are doing and work on the intelligent level of the students, some variable that may result an opposite to what you are doing on your experiment, that is called confounding variable. Okay. When confounding variable is less, the internal validity more. That is, validity increases with the confounding variable is less. So you must know this point very well when you do the research work. Okay, if there is no extra problem, then it is good for your research work. That is, you have to keep in your mind. So now we have studied the characteristics of research. Okay, then we talked about the validity in the research. Okay, reliability is very important in the matter of the research. So today's class is very short, but it is very important. You know, the characteristics of research is very important. I'm not taking a long lecture on it because already I have given the points clearly. It is enough for you to understand. Okay. Try to understand what I have given you as the notes. You can hear to my lectures also, and please subscribe this channel. Then only you are able to get my uploading videos. You can share it with your friends so they can also qualify the NET exam. Okay, it is a helping hand for them also. And so you don't forget to attend my classes. We can meet on next class. Okay, don't forget. So the research aptitude classes finished with today's class. Okay, we can meet on the next class. Goodbye.